The Green Sheet is a financial publication of the MWRA Advisory Board. This installment provides an update on the authority's spending through the first quarter of fiscal year 2017. The MWRA has a total current expense budget of $719.4 million for FY17. Through September, it has spent $163.7 million of that. Both direct expenses and debt service are below the 25% mark that you might expect after the first quarter, while indirect expenses are slightly higher. All of these levels are within the typical range and combined make for 22.8% expended through September. Now let's compare the authority's actual spending to what it budgeted through September. Total MWRA spending is $3.2 million, or 1.9% under budget through September. While all three major categories of spending were below budget, the majority of this underspending is due to debt service, which was underspent by $3 million, which we'll discuss shortly. Indirect expenses were underspent by about $130,000, and direct expenses were underspent by about $56,000. Looking at MWRA's spending in pie chart form underscores just how much the authority spends on debt service, which stands at 62% of total spending through September. The next largest category is direct expenses, which we'll look at in more depth now. This over and under view of direct expense spending shows areas of underspending on the left and areas of overspending on the right. The $515,000 underspending for other services is largely due to lower quantities for both sludge pelletization as well as grit and screenings. Workers' compensation was lower than budget by $478,000, due mostly to reserve decreases associated with a few cases. Because the authority self-insures for workers' compensation, this line item is difficult to forecast due to its inherent volatility. Underspending for both fringe benefits and wages and salaries is mostly attributed to vacancies in MWRA's workforce compared to budgeted levels. As part of its recommendations on the FY17 budget, the Advisory Board had recommended a vacancy rate assumption of $1 million. Underspending for these two line items through September is almost $700,000. Maintenance is the largest area of overspending at $1.2 million. Almost $400,000 is due to remediation efforts for the Nut Island fire incident, and the rest is primarily related to timing of expenditures. Utilities are driven primarily by an over-accrual at Deer Island, and chemicals overspending is a combination of timing of purchases, higher prices for some water treatment chemicals, and more pre-treatment chemicals being required due to low plant flows at Deer Island. Turning toward capital financing, we can see that almost all line items are at or very close to budget through September. However, as has been the trend in recent years, variable rate debt is trending under due to the continuing low interest environment. The authority expects to utilize the defeasance account strategy again this year, something we'll discuss in a moment. It should be noted, however, that though rates remain low, they are higher than in recent years, as seen in this chart. Last year at this time, variable rate debt was underspent by $3.8 million compared to the $2.8 million we see today. We can see that the rates have begun trending upward over the last year, particularly since December 2015, when the Fed increased the Fed funds rate for the first time since 2006. However, it should be noted that the MWRA includes a very conservative interest rate assumption of 3.25% compared with even the current rate. In fact, interest rates would have to more than double to even approach the budgeted levels. If the current levels of underspending remain unchanged, this line item could provide a year-end surplus of $10 million or more. This conservative budgeting and resulting surplus have actually served the authority well since the adoption of the strategy to use variable rate surplus for targeted defeasances. In fact, the authority has defeased nearly $483 million in debt, allowing it to control rate increases, in some cases bringing them down from double digits to under the 4 no more targets set by the Advisory Board. So what does all this mean? There will likely be some surplus in this line item by year-end, but it will be less than in recent years. The Advisory Board will continue to watch this item closely, both in this fiscal year as well as in the authority's proposed FY18 budget. Now let's take a look on the capital side. MWRA's total spending through September is over budget by 2.4%. However, once you account for the programs that are outside of the authority's control, such as the II Grant Loan Program, local water loan programs, and community-managed CSO projects, the authority is actually under budget by 1.7%. Wastewater spending is higher than budgeted due to faster than anticipated contractor progress on several projects at the Deer Island and Clinton treatment plants, as well as the Alewife Brook pump station. Waterworks capital spending is under budget primarily due to construction issues for the Wachusett Aqueduct pump station. Business and operations spending is only $200,000 under budgeted levels through September. That in a nutshell is an update on the MWRA spending through the first quarter of FY17. You can view previous screen sheets on our website or email us with feedback at any time.